पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्. By the infinite grace of the Lord Krishna, we are continuing to study the Bhagavadgita. In the last class, we discussed Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, the one-pointed conviction that has got a single objective or the purpose, that is the state of mind of a spiritual aspirant. In the shloka number 41, the Krishna says, Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kurunandana. So Vyavasayatmika buddhi has got different annotations and the dimensions about which we have already discussed in the last class. The understanding of the discriminative faculty which is one-pointed, that leads to one goal, that is spiritual goal, is called the Vyavasayatmika buddhi. It gives conviction for us to follow the spiritual path with steadfastness and one-pointedness. And about all these things we have discussed in the last class. And that has got a single objective, ekeva kurunandana. You cannot have the two or three varieties or the two or three types of the ekagra buddhi or the one-pointedness. The one-pointed state of mind is only one. It cannot be two. It cannot be multifaceted. But in contrast to that, bahushakahi anantascha buddhayaha avyavasayinam. Avyavasayi means those whose minds are disturbed. They don't have any conviction what goal they have to pursue, what path they have to choose. They don't have any kind of commitment towards that. In their case, their ways of thinking, their convictions, their goals are different. And it says bahushaka, multi-branched. And I gave the example of our day-to-day. We have a lot of options, we have a lot of ways, whether to go to ashrama or a temple or to a pleasure place or go to a market, etc., etc. Even in each goal, there are hundreds and hundreds of options, infinite options we have. So multi-branched ways of doing things, and also in each of the thing there are hundreds and thousands of options. And that is what Krishna says here, anantascha, bahushakaha, multi-branched. And also the ananta, the options are infinite in nature. That is what we find in the normal course of the day. We have hundreds of options, hundreds of ways to follow, and according to our instincts and our base desires, we choose one, and even that we have to choose several options even then. And the life goes on in this manner. All our efforts will be put to satisfy those desires. And desires are not one, desires are multi-branched. Indeed, desires we have hundreds of options. So it is a life of the miserable, the misery, because we cannot satisfy each and every desire. Even if we satisfy one desire, there will be another hundreds of desires waiting to be fulfilled. Always there is a craving, there is a hankering, there is dissatisfaction, and that is what is called avyavasayatmika buddhi by Krishna. It is not one-pointed, only the spiritual conviction that God realization is only the goal of life, and I dedicate my life to that cause. It is avyavasayatmika buddhi. You will see in Sri Ramakrishna's life, he lived for only one purpose. He had one pointed objective, I want to realize God. And every breath of his life, every moment of his life was dedicated to that cause. And this is how one has to live, one can live by following the one-pointedness, that is Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. In the ordinary people, we have hundreds of desires. Each desire we go for hundreds of options, thousands of ways, and we do not know where we will get the peace and contentment that we are searching for. The whole life will be spent on pursuing different objectives, different goals, hundreds of ways, thousands of options. Here Krishna says there are infinite options before us, because the desires are infinite. Each desire is branched into hundreds of sub-desires, and each sub-desire is again branched into infinite desires. So it is all pursuing the desire. In the Vedanta, it is called the sadhana and the sadhya. The whole life is nothing but pursuing what is called sadhya, the goal. The goal is not one, goal is hundreds of goals we have. And we choose path and we choose means, the means and the end. And choosing a means and trying to reach that goal. Afterwards another goal. Again another goal. Like that the whole life is spent in this manner. And this is the life of miserable and a very unhappiness which fills our mind, and we always are disturbed because so many desires occupy our mind. So psychologically speaking, the state of mind is very disturbing. If we don't have a single objective, concentration and a single purpose of life, and that is the state of worldliness. And if we have a single objective, that is God and God alone is my sole objective of life, then it has a single purpose, we have single conviction, the whole mind and body we dedicate to that cause, that is called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Now Krishna condemns the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas. In Krishna's time, that was very popular. People followed what is called the Karma Kanda, and the purpose of the Karma Kanda is to perform some yajna, yagas, sacrifices and different kinds of ceremonies that will give a place in the heaven. And there are several stages, several heavens, each one is higher than the other. If you perform a certain yaga, you will go to a certain heaven or the loka, and that needs lot of money, that needs lot of resources, cattle, etc., and that needs help from various people. So those who are emperors, they used to do what is called the Ashwamedha Yaga, that is the highest of the yagas, and through which they wanted to attain what is called the Prajapati Loka, the highest of the Loka. It is also called Prajapati or Brahma Loka, Chaturmukha Brahma Loka. So all these loka, the highest loka possible to attain. So in modern times, it may all seems to be cock and bull stories, but the same tendency continues now also. So going for different direction, my mind is wavering, so many desires, and there are hundreds of ways to satisfy desires, and we are very, very restless. That means we have become, or in these words of Swami Vivekananda, We have become utilitarian religion. Ours has become a utilitarian religion. What is meant by utilitarian religion? We all always want a worldly utility for all our endeavors, whether spiritual or the secular. Even to become a spiritual, we don't want God. We don't want the spiritual liberation. We want to satisfy certain desires in the life. For that purpose, we try to choose the spiritual path, and we try to have the spiritual means to attain some worldly desire. That is what you will find in many spiritual movements, so-called spiritual movements and the religions. And that is absurd. The utilitarian point of view is always non-spiritual. The one-pointedness or the single goal should be always towards God and God alone. Everything in life should be sacrificed at the altar of the God. That is what the Krishna teaches in the Bhagavadgita. So naturally he condemns the karma kanda and those who profess the karma kanda. And Krishna says they speak the flowery talk. Let us examine those verses once again. So we have touched upon it in the last class. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti. They speak the flowery talk. So there is an idiom in English, flowery talk, very wonderful talk, but there is no stuff at all. So Shankaracharya says, suppose there is a tree full of flowers, it is beautiful to look at, wonderful to to be in the company or near that kind of tree. It's a wonderful scenery, but there is no stuff in it. So the flowery talk, they vadanti, avipaschitaha. Krishna uses 3 or 4 epithets or the qualifications to condemn them. He calls such people as the non-intelligent people. They do not discriminate what is good and what is bad. We read in Kathopanishad, the Shreyascha Preyascha. Shreyas means that will give the everlasting happiness and the contentment, and that is the path of Shreyas, and Shankara calls it as Nishreyasa. That is the ultimate goal, that is the moksha, spiritual liberation, that is the paramartha, atyantika moksha or atyantika purushartha it is called. So there are 4 goals we read in our tradition, dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Dharma is morely ethical. Dharma is not the goal, it is the means to the other goals. There are empirical goals or the worldly goals, that is prosperity, artha, and also fulfilling the desires. This is artha and kama. So dharma should be the means to get the empirical values like artha and kama also. But the best way and the best way for a human being to follow the path of dharma is to achieve the highest principle called the moksha. That is the highest objective of the Veda. But in the Karma Kanda, the Karma Kanda prescribes several yajna and yagas to fulfill some desires. Suppose you want more cattle, more prosperity, so there are some yajnas and yagas prescribed for that. And if you want progeny, if you want to have sons, there are some sacrifices meant for that, and so on. And to get some higher loka, higher world, higher heaven, you have some several sacrifices. And such people are not able to discriminate what is good and what is bad, what is real and what is not real. So they are termed here as avipaschitaha. Vipaschitaha means intelligent people, those who can discriminate between what is good and bad. Those who are not able to discriminate are termed here as avipaschitaha. And Vedavada rataha. Here they follow the opinion of the Veda. Veda here means, as I told you repeatedly, it is the Karma Kanda which teaches the utilitarian religion that is condemned by none other than the Swami Vivekananda himself. Of course, the Swamiji was criticizing a utilitarian point of view found in the Western uh, Western world, especially in America. Religion is also being used for the worldly purpose, to serve the worldly cause. That is not good. Only purpose a religion should serve is for the spiritual cause, for to transcend the limitations of the body and mind and to find ultimate fulfillment and the contentment and peace in the spiritual beatitude. So they follow only the opinion of this karma kanda, Vedavada Rataha, and they also profess, they argue there is nothing else better than this. Nanyad asti iti vadinaha. If you argue with them, they vehemently say there is nothing better than going to the heaven by performing some yajna or the yaga. So they don't believe in Atma, they don't believe in the Brahman or the Upanishad teachings. They don't believe in the kind of reality towards which we have to strive hard and to realize it as I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. For them, these are all philosophical imaginations, that's all. So we have to be happy, we have to enjoy ourselves, the whole life, whether we live the life on the earth or the life hereafter in heavens, etc., consist in enjoying pleasure, nothing other than the pleasure. So there are the three qualifications: avipaschitaha, vedavada rataha, and nanyadastiti vadinaha. Adding to that, Krishna says their mind is full of desires. Kamatmanaha. Atma means your mind. Their mind is full of desires. Those who are full of desires, and actually they focus on fulfilling the desires. But unfortunately, the desires can never be fulfilled. You cannot find the infinite through the finite, Swami Vivekananda says. They follow the finite means, that means doing yajna, yaga, etc. Through that one cannot have the infinite loka or the infinite happiness where you can enjoy, or even in an infinite term. You cannot do that. That simple fact they forget. They are always full of desires to get more and more enjoyment, more and more pleasure. Therefore, they are always, their aim or the target, their goal is Swarga, Swarga Paraha. So I told you heavens are of, there are several heavens. In a lower heaven, you will get more intense and wonderful pleasures than on that you can get on the earth. But in the higher realm, you can get the more intense and more pleasures than the lower Swarga. That's all. So it is like this. You have some pleasures and you can be happy and you can lead a wonderful life of worldliness in India. Perhaps if you go to America, you can have more intense pleasures. The pleasures and the objects of pleasures, objects of enjoyment, more intense and more wonderful and more gratifying, you can say. That is that. Compared to India, the America is a kind of a Swarga, that's all. Compared to America, there may be, I will not know, after the death one can go to a heaven where you will have the more gratifying or the more satisfactory enjoyment than one gets in America. That's all. So these epithets are very important for us because we are living in a world where the money making and pleasure seeking have become important. And there is, people feel there is no other values, no other goals than to pursue that. So Krishna condemned such people long ago, thousands of years back. Of course, he condemns a section of people who follow a certain part of the Veda called Karma Kanda, which vouches for this kind of religious life. But all kinds of utilitarianism, that means I will do some puja for my promotion, I will do some puja for some worldly desire, to fulfill worldly desire, or to get some wealth, and all these are termed to be included in the utilitarian religion. And Krishna in all, he condemns what is called a utilitarian religion, and utilitarian religion is very, very dangerous to a spiritual person. A spiritual person should aim for the highest. And Chandogya Upanishad says, Bhuma eva tat sukham, nalpe sukham asti. There is no happiness, there is no bliss in the ordinary goals, like having a pleasure or having some luxurious items around us and try to enjoy. No, no, this is not the goal of life. We have to seek the highest. The highest is Bhuma. It is called the highest. This is Brahman, the Atman, the God. It is the highest goal of every human being. So, avipaschitaha vedavada rataha nanyadastiti vadinaha kamatmanaha swargaparaha. They speak of the flowery words. About what? So, janma karma phala pradam. They speak of janma karma phala pradam. Those rituals which give us more and more birth. In Vedanta, in the spiritual life, we have to try to avoid the next birth. We don't want to take next birth. We want to go to God. We want to liberate ourselves. If we want to go, we have to go to the God, abode of the God. And we have to be one with God. That should be the goal of a spiritual aspirant. But these people, by giving us opportunities to have more and more desires and fulfilling more and more desires and the enjoyments, and they are offering a religion or the path where we will get more and more. The idea is very simple. Suppose you want an enjoyment, you work for it, and all your work will definitely give a result, and the result will be the next birth. In order to enjoy that, you have to be born again and again. Not only the karma, Shankaracharya explains this, what is phala, what is the results of such rituals. The janma itself is the result. Because without janma, you will not be able to enjoy. If you become one with God, you will not be able to enjoy further. I want enjoyment, I don't want God. So I go for this kind of worldly way of life. So I will be born again and again. So janma itself is the phala. Janma karma phala means janma itself will become the phala or the results of these works. And such words, flowery words, they speak of. Kriya Vishesha Bahulam. So in spiritual path, you are asked by your guru to follow a path, a kind of meditation, and follow the strict routine of spiritual life. And that is a path leading to a certain goal. You have a single means and a single path, and you have a singular objective in your life. And you don't want to deviate yourself from that and go here and there and pursue hundreds of things. But here there are innumerable number of rituals, innumerable number of sacrifices prescribed in the Vedas. Kriya Vishesha, specific kriyas meant for specific objectives, specific worldly objective. Here also in this modern world, if you do that, you will get this. If you do that, you will get it. Invest in our bank, you will get such and such interest, and you will get such and such result. You will do that, you will get that. You come to us, we will give you this. So hundreds of ways, hundreds of kriyas. So this is what is meant by kriya vishesha. Specific means, the specific means are numberless. They are innumerable in number. Innumerable. Bahulam, kriyesha, bahulam. So these people always speak about that. Their whole life is spent on discussing about what shall I do next to get some worldly pleasures or the desires fulfilled. And bhogaishwarya gatim prati. So they speak of bhoga and aishwarya always. Their gati, their path, their directed, all the path, their speech is always intended to get more and more bhoga and aishwarya. There is a slight difference between bhoga and aishwarya. Bhoga is simple enjoyment, aishwarya is affluence. If you become a very rich person, you are not satisfied. You also want to power. You enter into politics. In politics also you will get some position, you are not satisfied. You want the higher position, highest position, which is the highest. And you will seek, I want that, I want more, I want more. So the whole life is centered on getting the two objectives. One is bhoga, the more enjoyment, more intense enjoyment, more higher enjoyment, and the more power, the highest power, where I can have influence over other people. I should be a ruling king, I should be an emperor, what not. So I want to rise myself higher and higher in the status and the power. So these people speak about only these things. So what they speak, Krishna tells, one is the Swajanma Karma Palapradam, Kriya Vishesha Bahulam, and Bhogaishwarya Gatim Prati. Their talks, their discussion, their deliberation is always intended to get to more and more pleasure and the affluence or the power. So these two shlokas, according to Shankaracharya, had to be read in one go, 42 and the 43. We cannot stop at the 42. 42 and 43 have to be read together. So such people, what happens to such people? Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam. They are always engaged in the pursuit. So in the earlier shloka, in the previous shloka, about their speech, about their talk, about their discussion, about their deliberation, so Krishna condemns such as flowery talk with no stuff, no higher value, no higher meaning in that. But in the 44th shloka, he calls them Bhogaishwarya Prasakta. They are always engaged in Bhoga and the Aishwarya. So please examine, please see, in the 43rd shloka, it is said, Bhogaishwarya Gatim Prati. They speak of the Bhoga and Aishwarya. I told you the Bhoga means enjoyment and the Aishwarya means the affluence. And they are always engaged in the pursuit that leading to the more and more Bhoga and Aishwarya. Such people are called Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam, Prasaktaha. So Bhoga and Aishwarya, that is the goal of life, that is the essence of life, there is nothing other than that, according to them. Taya apahruta chetasam. I shall read this shloka in full. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya apahruta chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidhiyate. As we have already seen, their engagement, their work, and their whole life, mission in life is to get more bhoga and more aishwarya, more enjoyment and pleasure and the power or affluence. And in that engagement, their mind is swayed away, overpowered. Their mind doesn't think of anything else. Their mind doesn't think of any spiritual matter. They have no time for spiritual practice. They have no time for the higher values of life. And such state of mind they have. Taya apahruta. Apahruta means it is carried away. These worldly thoughts have carried away their mind. Taya apahruta chetasam. To them, such people, Vyavasayatmika buddhi cannot happen. What is Vyavasayatmika buddhi? We have already read one-pointed conviction or the one-pointed or the concentrated mind which leads to a single objective cannot happen. Na vidhiyate. It doesn't establish. Where that kind of notion or the buddhi has to be established? In the mind. The mind here it is called samadhau na vidhiyate. People often think that samadhi means it is the samadhi state, etc. So it is a wrong idea. Here samadhi means the mind. And Shankaracharya gives a beautiful explanation. Actually, he elaborates on this concept in the Taittiriya Upanishad in his commentary. Why mind is called samadhi? Samadhi means merging. In samadhi, you merge with the God, or you merge with the consciousness, or you merge in that particular deity. That is what is called samadhi. Here, why mind is called samadhi? Mind is restless, mind is full of different thoughts, mind always changes, and why mind has to be called samadhi? It is because, you see, in the Panchendriya we have the five senses. So we see something, we hear something, we touch something, we taste something. All these experiences, the idea, all these experiences are they presented to the mind. It is in the mind they all get merged into and they are experienced. Through sense organs you will not experience. Though you may be thinking, through I am able to see. No, seeing experience of seeing is not experienced in the mind. It in the sense organ, through the eyes. It is experienced in the mind. So the touch experience, the touch, the sensation of the touching is experienced in the mind. And the sensation or the hearing sensation, that is also experienced in the mind. You will not come to know, suppose your mind is somewhere else, you are sleeping, or your mind is thinking of something else, though you are present here or in online class, somewhere in your house or anywhere else, listening to this lecture, your mind will not be able to grasp what I say because your mind is somewhere else. It is the mind, the experience takes place. It is in the mind, the knowledge, knowing takes place. So all our experiences are presented to the mind, and mind is the absorbing place. It is the merging point of all the experiences. There the real experience, the real knowledge takes place. That is why where the samadhi or the merging takes place, that is what is called, mind is called the samadhi here. So, Vyavasayatmika buddhi, one-pointedness, is not established. So, that person who is a restless, has got a restless mind due to his various commitments in the worldly nature, cannot have a one-pointed conviction in the spiritual matter in his mind. This is the meaning of these shlokas. Na vidhiyate, it is not established, etc. Now we will go to the 45th shloka. So Krishna condemned the karma kanda portion of the Vedas. We have to make a clear distinction. We should know, many people are confused. Veda has got two parts. One is karma kanda, another is jnana kanda. Karma kanda constitutes of vidhi and nicheda. You have to perform this, you have to do this, you cannot do this. Vidhi means a kind of order. Pratisheda means it kind of don't do it. Pratiteda, prohibition. So vidhi, pratisheda, these are from the essence of karma kanda. But in the jnana kanda, the Atman or the Brahman, the teaching of reality is the essential part. So what Krishna is teaching is the essence of the Upanishad. You cannot study Bhagavadgita without considering it to be the condensation of the Upanishadic teachings. Whatever has been taught, whatever has been spoken of in the Upanishad, same thing you will find in the Bhagavad Gita in a more concrete form, more lucid form, and more practical form. That is the beauty or the significance of the Bhagavad Gita. So it is natural that Krishna has to condemn the karma kanda portion to be utilitarian religion that should not be followed. And Krishna becomes a rebellion in this sense. Of course, the prevalent religion at that time, as I told you in these classes, was ritualistic in nature. But Krishna rebelled against it and gave a wonderful teaching based upon the Upanishad. And this is the importance of the Bhagavad Gita. So this sloka signifies that. In this sloka, you will find why Krishna ridicules that karma kanda portion of the Upanishad, Vedas. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Satyastaha Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Traigunya Vishayaha Vedaha. So all the utilitarian religion being preached or being instructed in the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas is limited to Trigunas. Triguna means this word. So there is no path, there is no way there which is taught or instructed to go above the Trigunas. If you are under the Trigunas, that means you are leading a worldly life. Trigunas means Sattva, Rajas and the Tamas. The aim of the Bhagavad Gita is to teach the aspirant to go or transcend the Trigunas. So we have a wonderful chapter here in Bhagavad Gita, Trigunatita Lakshana, one who has transcended it. And why we have to transcend the Trigunas? That is the only way to liberate. If you are under the power or the sway or the realm of the Trigunas, you will be attached to the body and mind. This body is made up of Trigunas, the mind is made up of the Trigunas, the whole world, what we call Prakriti or the nature, is but made up of the Trigunas. It is not even made up of the Trigunas. The Trigunas are the Prakriti. Prakriti is the Triguna. Trigunas are the constituents of the Prakriti. So body is nothing but Trigunas. The whole world is nothing but Triguna. So if we live a life limited to this only, that means we are living a very limited life, a worldly life, and we cannot hope for a better life. The better life, the real life is in the moksha. Real life is an understanding that I am Atman, I am Brahman, I am God Himself, I am pure consciousness, I am not body, I am not mind, I am not intellect, I am something spiritual being. That's why we have to live a spiritual life. What is meant by spiritual life? A life dedicated and with a conviction that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am something higher than this. And a life dedicated to achieve that, realize this, is what is called spiritual life. So if we want to lead a spiritual life, we cannot live a worldly life. These are all contradictory. So I want to live a spiritual life, in the same time I want to enjoy the things of the world. It cannot happen. So Prakriti, we have to detach ourselves from that. Prakriti means three gunas. Three gunas means Prakriti. We have to detach ourselves from the three guna. Then only we can hope to lead a spiritual life. That's why Krishna emphasizes the Karma Kanda speaks about only Trigunas and samsara, being born again and again and again and again, enjoying the pleasures and developing new desires, hundreds of desires, and in order to fulfill those desires, we have to be born again and again, thousands and thousands of times. And this is an endless circle. It is an endless series. There is no beginning, there is no end, as long as we are in ignorance. So, Traigunya Vishaya, that's why Shri Krishna, Shankaracharya says, Traigunya means samsara, transmigratory existence. And those teach about, the instructions are all about these fulfilling desires in the Karma Kanda section of the Veda. There is nothing which you will find there more ennobling and higher. Nothing. Only in the Upanishads you will find the higher teaching. So this Veda, the Karma Kanda portion, is Traigunya Vishaya, limited to three dispositions, gunas of the nature, Sattva, Rajas and the Tamas. But you have to transcend them. Your goal as a spiritual aspirant, O Arjuna, you cannot limit yourself to three gunas. You cannot live thinking yourself or considering yourself or dedicating your life for only pleasures of the body and mind. Because body and mind is three gunas. You cannot limit your life to that. You have to transcend it. The transcending Going beyond the influence of the Raja Triguna is what is termed here Nistraygunyaha. But the Shankaracharya beautifully puts it, Nistraygunya means Nishkama, having no desires, having no worldly desires, having no ambitious kind of life. That is the goal, that is should be your goal. To be in the Triguna state of mind is bondage. To go beyond that is the desireless state. You will find freedom, complete freedom of the body, freedom of the mind. You are not attached to anything. You will enjoy the bliss of Atman or the bliss of consciousness or the God. So don't confine yourselves to Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, go beyond that. Follow the instructions of the Upanishad. This is the hidden meaning of the Krishna's teachings. And by becoming Nistraygunya, Guna means, Triguna means three gunas. Nistraygunya means one who has transcended. And Shankaracharya puts it, becoming desireless, constantly thinking of only Atman or the God, and having no other desires, no other ambitions in life, is the state of Nistraygunya. And how to be Nistraygunya? It is a state of Nirdvandva. We are all in the state of Dandvas. Either we seek happiness, but happiness sometimes we don't get, and we get into misery, happiness and misery, sukha, dukkha. Alternatively, we go on experience. There is no absolute state here. Happiness comes, then misery comes, then again happiness comes, and these are all opposites. Where there is happiness, there is no misery. Where there is misery, there is no happiness. Because, but both are invariable. One has to undergo in one's life. You cannot say, I am always in happy. No, you will not say. One cannot say even, I am always unhappy, I am misery. So, the life is nothing but the continuous successive series of the happiness and the misery. Go beyond that. Don't attach yourselves to the means of getting happy. Oh, I want only happiness. Don't get attached to the happiness at all. As Swami Vivekananda puts it, if you want happiness, and you will be welcoming or inviting the misery also. There cannot be happiness without misery, and there cannot be misery without happiness. It is nothing but the two faces of the same coin. Where there is happiness, there is misery. And it is called the Dvandvas, about which we have already studied earlier. Sukha dukkhe same krutva labha labha, sukha dukkha labha labha, jaya apajaya. So, sukha dukkha are the results. Jaya apajaya are the means. So, if you have jaya, victory, you will be happy, sukha. If you have to face the failure, you will be unhappy. Sukha dukkhas are constant. And the jaya apajayas are, the sukha dukkhas are the invariable results of the jaya and apajaya, and also sukha dukkhe same krutva labha and alabha, etc. About we have already had a very good amount of discussion. So, nirdvandvaha bhava. Don't get attached to happiness, and don't get attached to misery also. When misery comes, don't hate it. Don't develop hatred. Don't feel despondent, depressed when you have to face the difficult situations and crises. And don't be too much excited when you feel happy, when you feel joy due to some favorable circumstances. Because the favorable circumstances after some time may turn into non-favorable circumstances or unfavorable circumstances. So sukha will lead to dukkha, dukkha will lead to sukha. Nothing is permanent. So the best way is to go beyond it. So what we have learned just now, Nistraigunya, is equal to Nirdvandva. There is no difference in both states. Nirdvandvaha. What is meant by Nirdvandva? Nitya Sattvastaha. Always remain in the state of Sattva. Sattva means, as I have explained in earlier classes, it is establishing ourselves in the state of illumination, wisdom, knowledge. It is just like you see people around you, but if you go to a top building, on the top of the building above 40 stories or 50 stories or even 100 stories, you will see people very like a doll, very dolls. That means our difficulties, our problem seems to be of much importance when we are in the state of Dvandva. When we are established in illumination, when we are established in the sattvic state of mind, which is nothing but the wisdom, maturity, all our problems will become very little, very non-consequential for us. They will not have any impact on our mind. We will see all problems, all difficulties, and even the favorable circumstances, happiness, every moment in our life, we consider equal. We develop the same sightedness. We continue to do the work, but our mind is full of peace. Experience no hatred, no attachment, no anger. We are always at peace with ourselves, but we continue to do the work for the sake of God, for the sake of society, for the sake of country. Our work will be completely unselfish. That is the karma yoga here. So the state of mind in which we have to do the work is termed here as Nistraigunya, Nirdvandva, Nitya Sattvasta, etc. Always remain in the state of wisdom, maturity, and a kind of lightness. We should not burden ourselves with too much worries, too much of problems, too much thinking, too much stress. No, we don't want it. We want to live a blissful life. If any obstacle comes in between ourself and the blissness, we have to avoid that, remove that. And we have to, our path also should be blissful. Of course, the end will be eternal bliss. That is the goal. So, the Nirdvandvo Nitva Sattvasto. So, in order to establish ourselves in the Sattva state of mind, what we have to practice is Niryogakshema. That is a very, very difficult thing. What is yoga? Here we should not consider the usual meaning of the yoga here. According to Shankaracharya, in the word Yogakshema, yoga means accumulating. Today I bought something, I went to supermarket, I bought so many things. Where there is place to keep it in our house, there is no place. So you have to buy a new house, bigger house, so that you can keep all those things. And again you buy hundreds of things, there is no place. Still bigger house. So there is no end to it. Always mind thinks of something, what I had to buy tomorrow, what I had to get tomorrow, what I had to buy next month, next year, after 5 years. So this is what is yoga, accumulating, gathering. And kshema means after accumulating, after gathering, after bringing unnecessary things from the shop. It is only one difference. All these things are in the shop. If you are free from that. When it is in the shop and the supermarket, you are free from that. You need not be worried about it. You bring it, pay something, your valuable hard-earned money you pay, and bring those things, horrible things to your house, and all the worry starts. To keep them. If you have bought fridge or refrigerator, you have to keep that in good order. If you have bought a car, you have to keep it in good order, you have to maintain it. Thinking about maintaining, thinking about keeping, worrying. Worrying about bringing some new things, that is called yoga, and worrying about the maintenance and keeping, it is called the kshema. So what Krishna suggests is the wonderful way of living constitutes in not accumulating, neither accumulating and not thinking about what you have already accumulated. No yoga and no kshema. Then you are perfectly all right. So this is the way of life Krishna prescribes. But we should continue to work. Not for the money, not for the wealth, not for the affluence, just for the sake of God. Advaitin. Shankaracharya is an Advaitin. But when he writes commentary on Karma Yoga section of the Gita, he always writes, it is for the sake of God, Ishvara Aradhanartham, we have to do karma. So the work dedicated to Lord, it is Lord's work. The results are also belongs to Lord. I am just but an instrument of the Lord. This kind of selfless work we have to continue to do. Not for the sake of accumulation hundreds of things and worrying about whole day, morning to evening about those things. It is not the sign of a yogi. So it's a great lesson in our life. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna, Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastaha. Nitya always be mature enough. No distraction, not getting affected by dvandvas. Always remaining in the state of joy, pure joy, immaculate joy that comes out of knowledge, that comes out of wisdom, that comes out of yoga. That is what is Nitya Sattvastaha and Niryoga Kshema. And last quality in this sloka is Atmavan. There are two meanings to this word, Atmavan. Atma means always establishing oneself in Atman, thinking about Atman. If you think about body and mind, always there will be desires to fulfill, and you have to nourish your body, and you have to find new avenues for enjoying. Who is enjoying? If you think this is body which is enjoying, the senses are enjoying, the mind is enjoying. Atman is not enjoying at all. Atman is like a sky. There is no need for enjoyment. Atman itself, Atmanev Atmana Tushtaha. If you want to enjoy, you can enjoy with Atman itself. Yourself you can enjoy in Atman, in that consciousness. There is no need for external agents, external factor, external objects for enjoyment. So when you are in yourself, when you are established in yourself, there is no need of any external objects of enjoyment. There is no need of going hereafter there for happiness. No need at all. The source of real happiness, the real contentment and real joy is within me. The joy is within me. If you find out that, you will become a real spiritual person. That is the life led by great spiritual personages and incarnations like Sri Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharshi and others. Wonderful people, they always enjoyed the life. That is the real enjoyment, because they have no objects of enjoyment. They did not find the use of any objects of enjoyment, outside enjoyment for their bliss or the happiness. Atmanev Atmana Tushtaha. They find happiness in their own Atman, in the God. This is the meaning of the Atmavan. But Shankaracharya says, Atmavan means you have to be very vigilant. You have to be very careful in this spiritual path. When you are doing work, naturally sometimes you will get the selfish desires. Let me get some more money by cheating, by corrupt means. All others are doing, why can't I do? Let me have name and fame. So all the mind is attracted towards the temporal things. What are those temporal things? Money is a temporal thing. Name and fame is a temporal thing. Compared to the bliss of Atman or the bliss of God, these are trashes. These are filth. You should not even look at them. There is a mansion which we can enter into and lead a wonderful life. Here there is a kind of trash or the dustbin we are aiming for. So name and fame, the wealth are all like the dustbin. So our life is not meant to acquire them. Our life will become meaningless. Go for the highest. As Chandogya Upanishad says, I have already repeated, I have already told you, Bhuma eva tat sukham. There is happiness only in the highest. The highest is God, highest is Atman. So this is the meaning of Atmavan according to Shankara. So we should remember all these qualities, all these characteristics we have to develop while doing work. We cannot stop the work. We have not reached that stage where we can stop the work, discontinue the work, discontinue the work and lead a spiritual life. We cannot do that. Because our very nerves make us work. We are still in the nascent stage. We are sadhakas. We have not become siddhas. So these are all the characteristics of a karma yogi that we have to understand. The next verse is very, very significant that we will read, but we will continue the next verse in the next class. Yavanartha udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. So again, condemnation of the utilitarian religion. So I want some utility. I want some money, so I practice religion. I want name and fame. I want prestige. But compared to all utilities, the utility you will get by knowing the Brahman or your own nature or the God is immense. So Krishna compares the wisdom of Brahman or the wisdom of a sannyasi or the yogi to be a great area which is fully flooded. So we had in Karnataka a lot of flood the last 2-3 months. The whole hundreds of acres were flooded. Imagine a situation. There is a small pond or the well and the whole area is flooded. There is a small pond or the well, whole area is flooded, everywhere water. So you want to take bath. Where you will take bath? The flood water itself you can take bath. You need not go to well or the pond. So when there is no flood, you are forced to go to a small pond or the well. When everything is flooded, where you will find the whole expanse of water everywhere, you can take bath there itself, or you can take water from there for different purposes. So the flooded water, flooding of water to the expansive area everywhere is compared to the wisdom of a Brahmana or the knowledge of the wise man. That means his mind is capable of enjoying everything. That means the sum and total of all the enjoyments in the world are as if included in the Brahmajnana or the bliss one gets in the Brahmajnana. See, the well and the pond are compared to the worldly pleasures. But the whole flooding of water everywhere is compared to the state of mind of a Brahmajnani. That's a beautiful analogy that we will try to understand next week. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. We have series of pujas next week. So Saraswati Puja and also Durgashtami on 11th. 10th is the Saraswati Puja. And also we have the Jayanti Durga Puja on 12th, that is Navami. From morning there are various programs and Homa and the lecture, bhajans, etc. All are requested to participate or are welcome.